Hi guys, non-stop recaps here. Today I will recap a movie called Cashback. Spoiler alert. The film tells the story of a young man named Ben Willis. At that time he was fighting with his girlfriend named Suzy. Because Ben broke off their relationship on the grounds that Ben was unable to make Suzy happy. 1 week passed, after breaking up with Ben. Suzy already had a new lover named Steve Jenkins. Seeing that, Ben feels regret and heartbreak for seeing Suzy with someone else. In that heartbroken state, Ben is always entertained by his friend named Sean. Sean suggested that Ben immediately find a new partner so that he could forget about Suzy. That night Ben tries to contact Suzy to apologize and asks her back. But Suzy refused on the grounds that she was already with Steve. Ben then asks Suzy, "Has she slept with Steve?" And at that time Suzy also answered the question from Ben. Knowing that, Ben was even more disappointed with Suzy. His heart hurts even more when he imagines Suzy sleeping with a Steve. Until that night Ben couldn't fall asleep. Ben then took a photo of his memories together with Suzy, and at that time he immediately tried to burn them. But Ben didn't get the heart to do it. And it was since that night that Ben could never sleep. For 24 hours Ben can't close his eyes. All day long Ben is always haunted by Suzy's shadow, to the point that it makes him become frustrated. 1 week later Ben is seen shopping at a supermarket, and he accidentally sees a poster of a night shift vacancy there. Because Ben finally decided to apply for a job at the supermarket. Unexpectedly the manager really liked Ben, and finally Ben was immediately accepted to work there. The next day Ben began to be seen working at the supermarket, when Ben had 4 co-workers named Sharon as cashiers: Barry, Matt, and Brian. On that day, Ben had been sleepless for 2 weeks. I don't know what happened to him, but when Ben was daydreaming the movement of time around him constantly slowed down, and until that time stopped, everyone around him also stopped and only Ben could move. Ben was an artist and he admired a woman's body. So he also used the stop time to paint the body of the woman around him. Then when he was done with his wish, Ben just rang his fingers and time went back. The next day Ben returned to work as usual. Seeing Ben, who continued to be stitched by his friends, Sharon just smiled at him. While in the dressing room Ben tried to talk to Sharon. Ben asks why Sharon is always in such a hurry when going home. Sharon only replied if she swapped shifts last Sunday. When Sharon was about to leave, Ben again tried to stop time, but to no avail, and just slowed it down. At that time Ben could only notice Sharon's departure. Then Ben continued his work. When Ben was about to start work, Barry and Matt went back to making fun of him, when Matt said that later that night he would go on a date with Sharon and would ask her to have sex. Ben seems to be starting to be disappointed because the woman he loves this time belongs to someone else. The next day, Matt started coming, and Barry immediately asked about his date with Sharon on a night out. Matt said at the time that Sharon liked him so much. Ben, who heard it, became even more disappointed. Then suddenly his manager came and said if he planned to hold a futsal match with other branches. On the appointed night the match began. At that time it was seen Matt who was kicking the ball towards the manager's face. Then suddenly Ben again stopped his time again, and at that time it turned out that Ben's futsal team had lost. Ben walks out to get drinking water with his ability without being touched by anyone. But just as he was about to fetch some water, Ben suddenly heard the sound of something. He shouldn't have heard any sound because time had stopped. And it turns out Ben realizes that it's not just him who can stop time. There are others who are the same as him. Then Ben returned to the futsal field and again sounded his finger. At that moment, time was turning back. A hard kick that hit the manager in the face. The manager's nose becomes broken. Then Matt rushes to take him to the hospital, and Matt tells Ben to take Sharon home. On the way home, Ben invites Sharon to stop by a cafe. There Ben ventured to ask about his date along with Matt. Hearing that question, Sharon immediately denied it. He said that they just left as friends and nothing more. Ben was excited again because he found out that Sharon didn't have a partner yet. Then they start telling them about their past and telling them about their future wishes. At that time Ben also said that he was very eager to become a famous painter. It turns out that Sharon also likes a painting, and because of that she begins to become amazed at Ben. Sharon always wished to have a life partner of a painter because a painter has her own beauty, and she also feels that a painter is very romantic. After they finished talking, Ben continued to drive Sharon home. The next day, the store manager began calling all his employees including Ben. He invited everyone to attend his birthday. After that, Sharon invited Ben to pair up with her at her manager's birthday event, and at that time Ben was very happy to accept his invitation. Time passed and didn't feel like it had been 4 weeks. Ben didn't sleep. That day he stopped time again and began painting Sharon. He kept repeating it hundreds of times, and all he painted at that time was Sharon. When Sharon was about to come home from work, she told Ben to pick her up tomorrow night and go in pairs to her manager's birthday. Before leaving, Sharon also kissed Ben's lips. At that very moment Ben felt a change in him, and instantly he also felt that the curse of his sleep had disappeared. And sure enough, that night Ben was able to actually go back to sleep soundly. In the middle of his sleep Ben was surprised by the phone that rang, and it turned out that it was Matt and Barry who returned to prank him. They claimed to be gallery owners who loved Ben's paintings and asked Ben to come to his gallery next Monday. That night comes the night of his manager's birthday, and Ben picks Sharon up. Before going to the party, Ben told Sharon that there was one gallery interested in his paintings. Sharon was also pleased with the news. Continued to the party. Unexpectedly, in the middle of the party, Ben met with Suzy, his ex-Ben, who was also present there. It turns out that his girlfriend Suzy is the brother of his manager. The party is back running with the madness of the manager. And when Ben wants to urinate, he's seen queuing in the toilet. But Ben meets Suzy there. Surprisingly, Suzy then approached Ben and said that he was sorry and wanted to get back with Ben, where Ben looked confused because Ben had been with Sharon. On the other hand, Ben still has feelings for Suzy. In the midst of Ben's silence, Suzy immediately kisses him, and unexpectedly the action is seen by Sharon. Sharon, who saw it, she was very disappointed and left the party. Ben realizes that, then immediately stops time back. Then Ben leaves Suzy and approaches Sharon. In the middle of the stop, Ben thinks hard how to convince Sharon. Then Ben remembers his painting that will be on display in the gallery. And Ben decides to put Sharon's painting there and invites him to see it. After finding that solution, Ben reruns his time again. After the party, Ben went straight to Sharon's house to explain about Suzy. But an emotional Sharon scolded Ben. And because Ben felt unsuccessful, then he left with a chaotic feeling. When he parted ways with Sharon, sudden curse returned. He went through sleepless days. And it's time to meet the owner of the gallery named Alex. After Ben meets Alex, Alex never calls him at all. He also never made an appointment with Ben. It was realized that someone was pranking him. Seeing Ben, who was disappointed, Alex asked Ben to show the painting, and it turned out that Alex was interested in the painting. Then Alex wants to make an appointment with Ben, who is actually to display Ben's painting in his gallery. The excited Ben then invited the broadcast to come the invitation letter to the gallery. On the appointed day looks very many people who are enjoying the work of the Ben. Ben just stood in the middle of the room waiting for Sharon's arrival. When Sharon came, she was shocked because hundreds of paintings of her were plastered on the gallery wall. She couldn't say anything and could only smile happily. Then Sharon goes to Ben. Ben explains about his relationship with Suzy, but Sharon stops him and says that all the paintings in this room have explained everything. Then Ben asked, "If you believe me?" Ben kissed Sharon. Instantly time back to stop. Then Ben invites Sharon out to enjoy the snowfall in the middle of the stop time. They live happily together and the movie ends.